Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. In today's episode, it will be a Christmas special. We might talk about. I think we will talk about Christmas stuff in it. Because Doctor Who is actually coming back at Christmas next year. But today's episode specifically, we're going to be talking to Richard, who played Friday in the Empress of Mars in Doctor Who. And just before we started, we did say that was a while ago. So, um,
Hmm,
it's all very nice because I always like to get a Doctor Who guest who comes on at Christmas. I don't know why. It's just like a nice time of year.
that's cool. Well, we did have a little time there, didn't we, where we expected a Christmas special from Doctor Who. A little run that did very well, but certainly in my childhood, in classic Who, no, there's no connection at all.
No, they kind of properly started in 2005, didn't they? Like the
Yeah,
Christmas special.
well, yeah, I think so. Yeah, which was rather marvelous.
Yeah,
Nice for me being a Mancunian, having a Mancunian Doctor Who as well. That's pretty cool.
it was brilliant.
Well, actually, he's a Salfordian. Ooh,
Oh.
different.
So because it was it was a while ago. I actually rewatched it the other night. The
Oh yeah.
Empress of Mars, just to lighten my memory. Um, because it was it's crazy to say it was long ago because it doesn't seem that long ago since Peter Capaldi was the Doctor, really. But it was a long time ago, wasn't
Well,
it?
it's true. A lot since happened since then as well. And I think also with that particular episode, it's almost like a film study student's episode. It has so many echoes to other movies. It name checks or refers to all kinds of classic cinematic things. So it has this odd thing, particularly being not just standalone, but quite old-fashioned in its approach. So it does feel a bit timeless. So it could be almost from any time.
Yeah. Like you can watch that episode and you won't have to watch any others like before it to understand it.
No, not at all. Although, ironically, we all whooped and whooped when we were at the read through. I don't know, this, but you quite often read
Yeah.
two episodes through at a time. So there's people from all kinds of episodes in there. But when Alpha Centauri popped up in the script, we all whooped because, of course, that's a direct link right back to my childhood and to the Peladon stories with John Pertwee. So it's funny. Yes, it's standalone. It's timeless, and yet it feels sort of embedded. And then we had this great conversation. It was a genuine question I asked everybody because I couldn't work it out. Does this make me the first ice warrior that the Doctor ever met? And everybody said yes, which is kind of weird, really, because I talk a lot about Bernard Bresslaw and those guys, and how sort of amazed I am. People say, "Why did you do it? Why did you?" I hadn't done a suit role like this since The Fifth Element. I said, if it's good enough for Bernard Bresslaw, it's certainly good enough for me. Another large actor, but a man of immense intellect and charm and wit and learning. And he carried around a fiberglass suit, which I imagine was rather more uncomfortable than mine.
Yeah. So what was it like? Like how long did you have to have your suit on for?
Well, we had talked about limiting the amount of time, but in the demands of a shooting day, I'm sure lots of people have said this before. Doctor Who is an immensely complex shoot. And even when you're largely studio based, there are so many elements to bring together. You look at the number of characters, in that show, and in the studio sequences, we're in a studio that's absolutely full of red Martian dust, and any number of sets. And we've got to do the thing where I appear through the floor and I kick through the wall and I get buried by the rocks. There is no time. There is no time for lengthy in and out of the costume. There was no way to get a cooling mechanism into the suit. The suit was very, very limited vision, as you might imagine. In fact, on the Doctor Who website, they released some of the digital reference shots that we made for the episode, and you see on the undamaged eye, there's a circle of little holes which were cut in a desperate attempt to give me some vision. But of course, what that means is I can see what's 25 yards away on the opposite wall, not what's at my feet. So basically, once you're in, you're in. The head comes off, which is like a release of steam. Um, very rarely could you do anything else other than pop a weird little sort of device and stick a bicycle seat up there so you could perch on a perching stool. But other than that, you're in it for. I think we were supposed to shoot 10 out of 12. We probably shot more than that pretty much every day. They were very, very long days, and I hardly met anybody else on the show, because by the time I was out of the suit, out of the three-piece prosthetic and everything else, and we'd got everything done, I'd go and lie in the hotel swimming pool and cry, and then everybody else would have gone home or gone on, to whatever else they were doing, except for the creature effects people, who were probably still working most of the time I was asleep. I actually know some of them slept in the workshop in Cardiff, because the days just became continuous.
Not stopping and just continue doing everything.
Well, I think it's that business of, if you want to go back to a hotel, get a shower, sleep, get something to eat, come back in, your sleep time suddenly becomes 45 minutes, 2 hours, literally. I thought I was pushed quite a bit, but I know the guys from Millennium who were in charge of the suit, some of them didn't really get to leave, I don't think. But it's a huge, property. It's a very valuable thing, very expensive thing, and it just takes time. It's one of those things that yes, it's you don't have to spend all the time on CGI and all the rest of it, but you do have to manage the physical reality, and it was a very physical, real thing. Very heavy, very hot, but had that quality then of the movement and the weight, and even the clicking and movement of the plates of the carapace, which I had thought, oh boy, this is going to destroy the sound. Sound guys managed, through a boom, some floats, and the head mic, to combine all of those noises to sound like Friday's biomechanical suit. So I think maybe I did one or two tiny ADR pickups in the plate washing scene. Other than that, though, everything else is live sound. An amazing technical achievement. Absolutely amazing.
Brilliant.
World class.
That's really good, because it's more like, I guess, more real kind of to do it like that.
Well, it is, I honestly think it gives a more real and live event, if you like. Okay, case in point, there's a sequence when we're sat around the tea table in our, wherever this place is that we're living under the ground in Mars, and Ferdy Kingsley's at the corner of the table. I'm trying to move round in the Friday suit, as I say, with no visibility whatsoever, and serve tea in this sort of kind of interesting pastiche of Robinson Crusoe or Man Friday or Jeeves the butler, even. I'm surprised I didn't call him Jeeves. And I bump into Ferdy. I just smack him sideways on, and seamlessly he put into an annoyance and a performance and carried on. And it's that live nature of it, I think, that allows you to believe in it as a real thing, rather than, we all know what happens when you CGI a character like that. Yeah. I mean, we all remember the first Spider-Man movies that, oh no, that's animation. And goodness help us, CGI Yoda. In fact, there you go. Frank Oz and Jim Henson, they created magic with live puppets that were more believable than any piece of CGI could ever be. And I always say that something like Friday is essentially a puppet. It's just I happen to be inside it, rather than operating it, from a distance.
Yeah, because I imagine how hard it is to be in there, because like Friday only has like he speaks there like at random times, really, isn't it? Like it won't be like a continuous thing. So when you're speaking, and then obviously you've got like you're moving around, like when they're all fighting, like the period when the warriors are fighting with the ice warriors as well.
And that was interesting, because we had a couple of other guys also in Ice Warrior suits at that point. But in actual fact, quite a few of those hits, quite a few of those fight sequences is me, because we also swapped heads, swapped arms for the observant. They'll see that the weapons change slightly and that kind of thing. And then into the hive sequence, then yeah, a lot of that is actually me in different heads. So that's weird, because that's an assemblage, that's a montage, that's a collage, really, of images. But in those, as it were, acting scenes, no, you're right, it flows. And in the great confrontation between the Empress and the soldiers and everything else, that has to be immediate. And so we played it like a theatre piece, really, even with all that technical stuff going on, and the huge laser cannon and all that kind of thing. We played it like a theatrical piece, which was kind of great, really, because you've got Adele is amazing, and well, everyone's amazing actually, and it the acting strength in that company goes all the way through. Excuse me, a dusty chest, and I think that shows. We read it at the read through like it was a play. We shot it like it was a play. That sounds like a play, but it is. It's a play. It's how it goes. And everybody believed in everything they had to believe in, and then we get this amazing layer of special effects and artifacts and creature effects that sit on top, and then just lovely touches that the technical ability that's collected in that organization, in that production. When they do the drone shots there was a model of the surface of Mars, which was actually in the car park at the studio. These days you can fly a drone over it, whereas when I started, you would have had to. It would have been an amazingly complicated crane shot that actually you would have started to have felt the crane. No, there it is, and they shot it and flew it out, and we could have gone all around that planet and believed in it, which is a lovely thing.
Yeah, I think it's really cool when they make all these sets really realistic, and sometimes use the same sets for other episodes.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I don't know if they had the opportunity to do that with the Martian set, although I do know at the beginning when I first meet the Doctor, that's actually a location sequence in some red sandstone caves on the corner of the river, in the river mouth, really, in Bristol, in the estuary. And that's a very famous shooting location for all kinds of stuff, pirate things and 18th century, 19th century sailing things. So that was very much, a place that gets visited a lot. But I have a funny feeling that our Martian set for Empress of Mars was a one-time deal. And then they put tons of red dirt inside the studio. And I mean tons, sort of 8 inches deep or whatever. How they operated all those technical equipment with all that dust around, I don't know.
Yeah, because I think a lot of work goes into it, because you have all these different people doing their own jobs. Like you're doing your job while someone else is going to do the editing, or someone else is putting all that dirt on, making it like Mars.
Well, I mean, the BBC is still a genuine production company, so it's something which my TV career started actually at Television Centre, which is a perfect example. You've got all these sound stages, you've got all these trades there on site, you've got everybody there, and everybody there is the best at what they do. Everybody there is the best at what they do. And the studios in Cardiff, just the same. So you've got the set from Pobl Come, you've got other guys preparing, I think it was a 19th century drama going on, and there we are doing our bit. But it's not just a factory. It's like a kind of, I don't know, powerhouse of creativity and of actual industry. I mean, I've done other shows for ITV and all the rest of it, very, very similar. The Coronation Street set, for instance, in Salford. Be careful how you step off your set, because you might well end up in shot on somebody else's set where they're shooting a different episode at the same time. That's the level of industry. And in the old Television Centre, with this donut ring thing, if you got 20 minutes, you could walk around and you could walk through so many other, well, obviously not the set, but you could walk through other productions doing what they were doing. Yeah. And Cardiff is just that. It really is. It's an industry powerhouse. It's great.
It's brilliant, because when I've gone to Cardiff, I always go in a mind to go to these different Doctor Who locations, which is kind of cool as well,
Sure.
because I look into it in this way, because I went to the one that I'll point out one I went to. It was a Matt Smith episode,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, and it was the Hungry Earth, the Silurian one,
yeah, yeah. Sure.
that he done, and got the church, and it's like going up when you drive up. It's almost like going up a really big roller coaster because it's like
Sure.
up this massive hill,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then you think, hang on a minute. They get about, don't they? When they're the Doctor people on Doctor Who, because
Well,
if
it's
they're
very
not in the
obvious as
studio,
well to relocate to Wales for all the economic and political reasons that Cardiff is a fantastic place to shoot. But as we've all known, who particularly I spent a lot of my time in touring theatre. So I've toured the heck out of Mid Wales, South Wales, spent seasons in Milford Haven, Aberystwyth. And you look at it and go, wow, what locations? What locations? Relatively close together. Same for Scotland. Well, this one's kind of bigger and longer. I did Outlander up there, and you look at it and think, yeah, well, Ireland, Vikings, amazing locations, relatively close together and relatively easy to get to. And I'll say it again, with the best resource of acting, creative talent, technical talent, in such a small space. I wish there was somebody out there in government actually explaining just how prominent our industry is in the world. Because I've lived in Los Angeles for, I don't know, 15 years. Amazing. In Hollywood. Yeah, yeah, loads of people in Hollywood. Doesn't feel any particularly busier or more full of talent than any of the production centres in the UK. I worked in Eastern Europe a lot as well, and Vilnius and Bucharest, who are really good at keeping hold of their crews, because that's the hardest thing to do, is to keep a crew there all year round. But then you've got the UK and you've got Ireland, and you can get anything you want. Yeah, it's industry, man. Yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting when you go to see these different places, how awesome they are,
Mm,
and it's crazy. Like you do like it's like a bit upside down as well. Where I guess
mm.
when people film it, like you might put episode one, um, maybe the pilot, and then
Sure.
but maybe when shooting that might not have been the first episode that they recorded. So
Absolutely, absolutely. But then again, that's because these geniuses out there who will take all of the stuff I'm talking about and then we'll put it into a linear order in which you can actually film it. And having been involved in a couple of long running series, well, a few actually, watching a producer react to case in point, Harold Snowd. We're doing some sitcoms for him, and we're out in the country, and the local transformer station on the top of a telegraph pole type thing blows up. We've got no power. We're going to have no power for the rest of the day. We've got 2 days shooting to do there. He's got I think it was a 32-day schedule to complete, and watching him rejig it, work everything out, see what actors he got, see what locations he got, and of course he's got people helping him do it. But making the decision of how to move forward within a matter of 10 or 15 minutes, and then moving on, being very calm, and getting it all done. It's astonishing, and this is the great surprise for a lot of people, particularly in movies. You shoot out of sequence. You can shoot your death before you shoot your arrival. You have to remember where you are in your relationships, particularly in a show like Doctor Who. Have I seen you before? Or is it the first time I've seen you? Are you frightened of me at this point, or have you started to realise that I might be actually a bit okay? Because we had that very much in our episode of Doctor Who. Obviously, Friday is introduced as potentially this dangerous, perhaps even chaotic character who will be an antagonist. And then, of course, by the end, he's actually in the script I originally had. He's holding hands with Bill in a kind of cross-species harmony as we look at the Galactic Federation coming together. So yeah, you can remember all that stuff too. But the people actually shooting it have got to remember what they need, which direction the camera is looking. Can we let that go now, or do we have to keep that? Can we break that down because we need the space, or do we have to keep that because we're going to be shooting that tomorrow? And they're people with much bigger brains than me. I just wear the costumes and fall over. But they actually have it all going on in their heads. You know, it's like Peter was like that. Peter had that whole show in his head, and he worked it. God, the Doctor has 60 pages of dialogue an episode. 60 pages. That's that's more than a leading part in Shakespeare. And yet he has it all there, and he works it every moment of the shoot, all the time.
Like,
hugely generous, but hugely focused.
like because they've released these scripts now, like on
Oh
the
yeah.
BBC, and then you look through them, and then you think they read all that, like you got the Doctor, and then probably if he forgets like one little bit, they point out to him, you're supposed to say that.
Well, we do have script supervisors, which is really important, and it's a more important job than perhaps it might be. It's not just picking you up on your lines, but a script supervisor will also make detailed notes of what every single take is. So sometimes I can say, "What did I say last time?" Well, you said I said that, right? Okay, right. Well, I better stick to that then. Or they will pick me up and say, okay, well, the first time you said that, you said it this way. The second time you said it that way. But they're also making notes about what happened to the set, what happened to the props, what happened to the lighting, so that when the editors come to it, the editors can use their notes to identify the takes that they want, the bits that they want, how they create the story, which is another whole amazingly creative process. If anybody is ever interested in it, there's a lovely book out there called In the Blink of an Eye by Walter Murch about editing. And you start to get a real idea of, we do what we do, and then the editors actually make it, physically make it, or even if it's electronic, it tends not to be spliced negative these days, or spliced positive even. But they're making it from this huge pile of coverage, of footage. They're extracting the story, a bit like what they say about sculptors, how you take a block of stone and then you remove every bit of stone that isn't the sculpture, and then there it is. So yeah, it's a ton of stuff. And then of course you've got the departments, the art department particularly, who will be keeping an eye out on what's going on and where it's going and how it is. And makeup, obviously, costume, obviously. They get what they call last looks. So before we film, last looks are offered. Everybody comes out to make sure it's the way they need it to be, and then we move on. Sometimes as they're running, because no one ever gets enough time to do what they need to do. And then hopefully we don't mess it up.
Yeah, it must be really hard work because Doctor Who, not just Doctor Who, any show, like the amount of work people do, and not especially the amount of deleted scenes there is as well. Because
yeah, well, that was a nice thing. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but BBC America released some deleted scenes from our episode and sort of more complete scenes because it got edited slightly, and that's really lovely to see. And I guess it's the sort of thing that ends up on Blu-rays and steelbooks and all those kind of things. But yeah, there's a lot of footage out there, which is interesting. I don't think there's any major changes in what they edited from our show, but there are one or two little, particularly the washing up sequence is a bit fuller and longer, and it has a bit more of the relationship between me and Bill and the Doctor in it, which is quite nice.
Yeah, like was it like when you knew like that you was gonna be Friday, and when you knew that you was gonna be like in an episode with Peter Capaldi, was you quite excited like before that?
Oh, massively, because I'm 60 now,
Yeah.
so I'm very nearly as old as the show, and Doctor Who was the show on television, the show. And it was the thing we played in the playground when you went back to school on a Monday. It was your cultural reference. We all know the proper use and function of a laundry basket, which is to put it over your head and be a Dalek with a sink plunger in your hand. So yeah, massively. I mean, it's so funny because Doctor Who sometimes can be a bit overlooked. I think we tend to treat with a slight contempt the things we know and love best. And maybe even the BBC did that. I don't know. Certainly back in the day, I think there was a sort of familiarity breeds a certain amount of overlooking. But no, for me, it was tremendously exciting. But interestingly, I got told so little about what the episode was about. In fact, the only thing Wayne really said to me was, "You realise that the only part of you that will be visible is that, and that will be covered in prosthetic." I said, "Yes, no, I know what ice warriors are. I've got it. I had a whole career in puppetry before I started acting, like this. So I was actually it as a puppet job. But it didn't hit me until the moment I was actually on set, and everything's there, and it kind of looks like it does on screen, right? I mean, that's how good the sets are. That's how complete they are. And there's Peter, and there's Pearl, and there's all the other guys, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm actually in this. This is actually really happening now to me, and that was tremendously exciting. And still is, actually, for what it's worth. And I've been acting nearly 38 years or something. Done a lot of movies, done a lot of TV shows here, Eastern Europe, America, India. Last year, I did a big feature film in India. But this is Doctor Who. And it's funny, really. I think it's still that important to all of us.
Yeah, because it impacts a lot of people in different ways, doesn't it? Like like the show of it, like how you can relate to yourself, like
Well, the great truth is, isn't it, that when you're doing a drama or a fiction or something, you probably are inviting the audience to find themselves in the show. And I think one of the genius things about Doctor Who is the central character. I think very few of us actually imagine with a doctor. Then that leaves a huge amount of space around it for you to identify with, all kinds of people. Now, that's not always true. I mean, I think a lot of people identify with Jodie. Fantastic. Certainly in my time, it was the companions, it was the villains, it was the monsters that kind of led me in. So yeah, people invest in it. Yeah. And even now, people invest in it, and it's changed greatly over the last few years, and will hopefully continue to keep changing. I was doing some big American conventions when our episode came out, as you might imagine, and there was a lot of negative feeling around at the time when Jodie was taking over.
Yeah,
and I think it was probably Chicago, can't remember, maybe Long Island. Minneapolis, maybe. And I said to a late night panel, you get sometimes these rooms full of quite tired, slightly pissed people. And they've all got an opinion, which is good, because that's how we all have discussions. And I said, well, imagine a little 10-year-old boy watching his favourite hero on television lie down, and what gets up off the floor is this curly-haired, big, beaky-nosed, grinning geezer. And you say, well, that's not Doctor Who. And that was Tom Baker. So there you go. And of course, then Tom Baker became beloved and is now amazing. And he's a multi-dimensional legend. But at that moment, I felt a bit betrayed as a kid. Can't change that. I've got an older brother who's 5 years older than me. He had the same problem when John Pertwee took over, because Patrick Troughton was his doctor, and he felt slightly sort of, oh yeah, But that's the investiture people have in the show. And I think it's rather marvelous, actually, that people get pissed off, they get frustrated.
Yeah,
I mean, they care more about that than who's the blooming president or the prime minister. Probably quite rightly, actually. And you go, well, there you go. There's the level of involvement in the show. And I think it's one of the things that the BBC is still managing to do brilliantly, whether it's Strictly or it's Doctor Who or it's whatever. We're getting people involved in something happening right now with a lot of contemporary issues and a lot of contemporary characters, very inclusive, which is very, very important, and caring. And caring. So yeah, I say to people, let's, particularly if we've had a reasonably lively panel, let's go and have LobbyCon. Let's go and find a bottle or something, and then let's really have an argument about it, because this is great. We're talking about the show that we love, and about your aspect of it and my aspect of it, and what do you feel? How do you feel when you watch Doctor Who change? You tell me.
Yeah, it's brilliant because I think like when I was growing up, like I probably started watching it from the Ninth Doctor, and
Yeah,
then I didn't know what regeneration was at my age. I was about uh, 5, 6 then, and then Dave Tennant takes over, and I'm like, he's really good, he is. And then
yeah,
he goes, and then I'm like, I don't want to know Matt Smith. I don't want him. I don't want to watch him. But then I watched 11th Hour, brilliant. One of the best
amazing.
season openers, really good.
I kind of picked up on it again a bit then, because where's this going? Oh wow, oh this is new again. Nice little. I don't know what you call this really, but Matt Smith and I, not that he knows me at all, we had the same drama tutor at A level, and we went to the same university to study drama. Albeit, I don't think he hung around very long. I think he went off and did something else before he became famous. But yeah, I in fact met our old drama tutor not so long ago. She was directing a show down in Harrow, and she said, "Oh yeah, I taught him. Yeah." Which I like to tell people, because everyone comes from somewhere. Everyone's normal. Not everybody becomes Matt Smith, but everyone's normal and everyone's there. So it's and I think maybe that's why we feel we own a bit of the show, that we are part of the show. And I very much feel like a fan who happens to have been in it. Much more so than other shows that I've done. I've done 52 hours of some shows, which I gave everything to. But that's, in that case, that was a Robin Hood show, and I probably do feel a bit invested in Robin Hood, having played Little John a lot of times. But yeah, it's that involvement. It's okay. This is a terrible question, and I normally deflect it hugely when other people ask me, "Who's your favourite Doctor?"
Well, I have two reasons here.
Mm-hmm.
So my first reason is David Tennant,
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up with him, and he's probably the only Doctor I've actually been upset about leaving, like deeply.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Um, like I haven't really with a regeneration. I haven't really been as sad as from other Doctors. Not because I didn't like them,
Mm-hmm.
but because they just didn't. I just felt his regeneration was more sad. But also, Paul McGann. I love Paul McGann,
Yeah.
and not just because of Doctor Who, but just because in general, like,
He's a great guy.
like
Was,
a few years ago, before the 60th actually aired, went to a Comic Con and I said, Paul, do you want to come on my podcast? And then, I mean, I don't ask many doctors because I feel like they're too busy, but he says
no,
yes. He does it. He comes on, he does it, and brilliant
great.
guy. And
I was at a con with him in Exeter not so long ago, and he gives full value. He he's very funny. He's very, very funny. And he's also very committed, and he's got a lot of issues he likes to talk about, which is excellent. And I actually sat next to him at the last con for a day, and so I got to see how he was with people, and how he welcomed them in, and how he gave full value to absolutely everybody. This is not somebody that just sits there and signs a photo,
he'll talk to you. Like
Oh hell yeah!
he'll have
Yeah.
a conversation with you. Like it's like when I met David Tennant actually as well.
Mm.
He was the first convention I went to,
Oh
David
yeah,
Tennant, and then I met Paul McGann maybe 2 months later.
yeah.
But the funny thing is, with David Tennant, I was talking to him for like 3 minutes, and at a
Mm.
convention wise, that's long.
It
So
is for the doctors. I mean, it's fun for me because just occasionally I might get that queue. Most of the time, I can spend a decent amount of time. They can't, because they've literally got 100 people queued up, and they've all waited. Some of them have even prepaid and all that kind of stuff. So there is a responsibility to keep the queues moving. But full value, full value. I mean, I know Sylvester even well, I know Colin quite well. We've done a lot of cons together. Always full value. Always full value.
Yeah, they are.
Lovely
They're
thing.
really good. So, who's your favourite Doctor?
You see, now I have to say Peter Capaldi, because he literally is my doctor. Because he is the doctor. Although the irony being is that because of the suit, and because of getting into the suit and out of the suit and the shooting schedule and his schedule, in the 5-something weeks that I was on the show, we barely spoke. We barely spoke. In fact, I barely spoke to most of the other actors, actually, as I say, because they'd be in the bar on it.
Did you have any conversation with Peter Capaldi when you was there?
He came up to me right at the beginning and he said, I know I'm not going to get a lot of chance to talk to you because I know how this goes, but it's really important you're here, which I thought was one of the most generous and also invigorating things somebody could say to you. Because there is a sort of tendency for people to think that you're a guy in a suit and all that kind of thing. And he'd taken the time to find out, that I'd done some stuff and I was an actor, I'm an actor. And he also said, no, it's really important that you're here. And at the end of the shoot, on my makeup place, although, as I say, pretty much everybody had gone, and I was just working with the guys from Millennium to sort the suit out, there on my place was a script of the show. And on the cover page, Peter had drawn me a cartoon of Friday and then written quite a lengthy dedication, which he did for everyone. Oh. He did it for everyone. And that has impressed the heck out of me. I've never seen him since, actually, because I'm not so sure he does conventions, and I don't do very many.
He don't do them.
No, I don't think he does. I mean, I was there when Chris Eccleston did his very first convention in America, and I think he wouldn't mind me saying that he was frightened. It was not something he wanted to do. He's a very sensitive and quite private person, and he just released his amazing book, Love the Bones of You, which is quite revealing. And he popped into a room where we were all waiting to go down onto the floor. And he looked horrified, and then he suddenly went, "Oh, thank fuck, you're not real people," which I thought was brilliant. So he sat down, and we got him a cup of tea and a chocolate bicky, and we all sort of talked it out because it was a huge kind of thing. It might have even been Gallifrey 1, which can be very big. Although, actually, I have to say that Gallifrey 1 is one of the biggest conventions. Is also very, very gentle, very, very personal, because not all of them are. I'm very lucky. All the big ones I've done have been like volunteer led and been really personal and very nice.
I'm thinking about going to Gallifrey 1 and for the 2027 one because I haven't been before and I want to give it a go before it shuts.
Well, I believe it's changing, isn't it? I think Sean's not doing it at some point in the future. I can't remember when. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, you see, shows are actually their fans. Conventions are their fans and their volunteers, and that group of people, just astonishing. The inclusivity, the welcoming. There's a kind of crazy gentleness, and I say crazy gentleness, even if you find yourself at 4 o'clock in the morning drinking bourbon with somebody you've never met before in the lobby, but it's still gentle, and it's still very nice. And it is a family to which I am enormously honoured to have been accepted.
Yeah, it's really good because I feel like all the doctors, I had someone on from the Well, that was in the Well for the last series.
Oh yeah.
And they were one of the troopers, like the blue troopers in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they said, Shooty Gatwa asked for everyone's name before they even start shooting the episode.
Sure.
And then he bought them all lunch. Even not anyone that he like not even the actors, like the whole crew.
Sure.
So I thought that's good. And then Peter Capaldi like what you said. So I think it's really brilliant because
Mm.
the Doctor is the Doctor, isn't it? Like they take that role,
Oh yeah,
they take that role like as an ambassador kind of thing, where
I
they
very much so, very
they
much so. Yeah,
they
and
they
aware of
know
it.
they know what it entails.
No, no, no. It's. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what Chidi ends up, doing next. I'm sure he's already working on 15 other things because he's amazing. Um, and the best of people know what they've done to be the Doctor and have invested in it and respectful of it. And no matter what else they go on to do, there's always that part of them that remembers being the Doctor. And I know that that little sequence of words is something that has even been incorporated into the show. When I was you, when you were me, and that kind of thing, which is very sweet. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's there.
Yeah,
And whatever I go on to do next, Friday will always be there.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah,
It's
always be there.
like it's quite special that you do that, and like you've got um a monster. So like because you said that growing up Doctor, that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about the monsters, the villains.
I honestly think for me and my sort of, I was born in '65, so by '75, you see where we were with the show, and the things we talked about were the monsters, frankly. Uh, I often talk about the Green Death, which must have come at a particular point in my life because it had environmental issues in it, it had labour relations issues in it. It was a very rooted in working class Britain, and it had maggots. It had giant green glowing maggots. Come on, this is what we're here for. So that's how that worked for me. The Ice Warriors, interestingly, were before my time. So I had to kind of rediscover them. And I did do some research for the show, actually, because it's like, okay, what's this about, And of course, television changes, and the speed of delivery changes, and how long it takes to tell the story changes. And by the time we're down to the whole story in one episode, if I'd have spoken at the same rate as the original Ice Warriors, we'd still be there, because it's very slow. But that's how the show was then. Television was slower then.
Yeah,
Drama was slower. Now we're very much quicker, and things have to reach a conclusion. And certainly the way Doctor Who is very often within a single episode, which kind of changes the grammar of what you can do on screen.
yeah. It's always changing. It's changing now, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
whatever's gonna happen next, like it's kind of all we know. There's gonna be a Christmas special.
We don't know anything about it, but we know it's going to be a Christmas
Yeah,
special, and we
that's
still
all we
don't
know.
know what still don't know what Billy Piper's doing there.
No.
I think it's great. I at first I totally didn't understand what was happening, and then I thought that's quite witty. That says, well, it may be that we don't know what we're going to do next, but we're going to give you a question. We're going to give you what happens next kind of idea, which I think is quite witty. You know how at the end of all the James Bond films, it
Mm.
always used to say James Bond will return, and sometimes it would say James Bond will return and give you the name of the next movie.
Yeah.
And now they've killed him, and then said James Bond will return, which I suppose is its own kind of. It's not a cliffhanger exactly, is it? It's a
No.
sort of conundrum. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time since that happened, I think.
Yeah, and I
That
guess
movie.
I think that's we need to remember just how long Doctor Who went away for
Mm.
before it came back again, and all the fandoms around the world, particularly the US, actually put a lot of effort, but also in Germany, the UK, into interest in it coming back. So when it came back, it was our show, but it was completely new. Now that's genius. That is. I thought Chris Eccleston's series was genius because it was our show. It felt like Doctor Who to me, and yet everything was new.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's what we're going to get again. I don't know. I
I
don't
do,
know.
I do think we need to kind of because it's changed so much over the last few years. Um, we just want to maybe like Monster of the Week, go back to that kind of stuff. Have a horror
Yeah,
episode. I love the horror episodes.
yeah, horror episode's great.
Yeah.
Fang Rock, yeah. But you know, it's an established thing. This with series television. Series television is hard because you've got to keep coming up with the same thing but new. So give me the same thing but new. I did a Robin Hood show for Warner Brothers, and by I can't remember season 2 or season 3, we were doing weekly pastiches of whatever movies had been successful the year before, which meant that Robin Hood got to meet aliens, got to meet ancient Romans, Egyptians, oh, you know, the lot. I don't think we actually. Oh yes, we did. We had a time travel machine. What am I talking about? We got to meet a Californian teen from Malibu Beach, and
Ooh.
at first I was up in arms. Or as Christopher Lee said, I came here to do the story of Robin Hood. This is a children's pantomime. And I said, well, yeah, it is, but also Robin Hood has always been whatever each generation wants it to be, and maybe Doctor Who has something of that quality as well. A thing for our times or for all times. Yeah, I mean, we did some very goofy stuff in Robin Hood, but I always did it with total conviction and belief and quite a lot of affection for the show, which I think makes a big difference. Audiences know if you're taking the piss out of what you're doing, because that means you're taking the piss out of them. And that is indefensible. In my theatre life, I love to do pantomime. I adore pantomime. I think it's the most complete theatre form there is. And you can do anything in pantomime, but what you can't do is disrespect the audience, because then the whole thing falls down like a horrible, great, wet, soggy mess. And Doctor Who can make fun of itself. It can make fun of its own history, but it can't make fun of the audience, and it hasn't done so far. So I think
Yeah.
we're doing very well.
Yeah. Like, because there are questions that like have been left within the last couple of series of Doctor Who. So in this Christmas
Mm.
special, it's going to be interesting. What happened to
Well,
it?
it
Because
is. Well, I'm looking forward to it. You know,
yeah,
it'll be part of my Christmas, and yeah, you know,
yeah,
in another life, I've done a long running series of romantic comedy Christmas movies. Quite a few actually. I don't know how many now, and they are part of people's Christmases to the extent that, as you know, there are whole channels dedicated to Christmas, those kind of Christmas movies. And it's the same thing. You know, you start to realize, hey, you got a bit of somebody's Christmas here that you're trying to take care of. Don't be disrespecting that. You know, this is a little bag of magic you've been given. Now spend it carefully. Most of the time in those sort of movies, my job is to be very straight, is to be very real, very human. Even if I'm caught out by events or if I end up being unfairly vilified or whatever it is, I have to be very straight. Other people get to twinkle and look at the camera, which is something we know from pantomime is who gets to talk to the audience, who has to be straight. You can't have everybody winking at the audience. It's a disaster. So, for instance, in Empress of Mars, when the Doctor and Bill are doing their little running gag about film titles, we're almost up to the point of Peter winking at the camera, but he doesn't, because he's actually talking to Bill. And it's about an argument he's having with Bill or a conversation he's having with Bill. And we pull back and we move on. And that's what I'm talking about, this really clever way of balancing the filmic reality with the expectations of the audience and with the knowledge of the audience. We all love Easter eggs, right?
yeah,
But if you're suddenly watching something which is just stuffed full of Easter eggs and has stopped being the thing it's supposed to be, well, that's not good. The audience have tuned in, or they've streamed it, or they've bought it, or however they come to see it for a reason. And the reason is because they want to see that thing, not a whole load of nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Oh, well, if you didn't see episode 427 6 years ago, you won't get this. No, that's not right.
No.
Yeah. So go on. Any other questions you got for me?
Do you have, when you was on set, was you able to take anything home?
No.
You wasn't allowed.
Not a sausage. And you probably can see from the show, Friday has a number of pliable gloves, some of which are pristine, some of which are absolutely battered. And I did think that perhaps I might be allowed to keep a pair of gloves, but I was not. And it's funny because there's all sorts of bits of suit that have turned up in these various prop houses and things like that. And somebody was even telling me that they'd bought my suit. I don't know, but I never got anything off set. And it's funny, I was talking to Christopher Lee about this, about The Man with the Golden Gun, if that film means anything to you in terms of James Bond. And he said they wouldn't give him the Golden Gun, any of them. And he had about 6 of them in different, one that went together and one that was beautiful to look at and one that you could throw around. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, so as I got nothing off Doctor Who, no.
Yeah, because I remember that they put all these load of costumes from the studios online, and I knew even some people that wore those costumes. They bought them themselves.
Well, I know. I think is it Mickey Lewis just bought a Cyberman? I think so.
Yeah,
with the intention of then doing charity events with them and things like that. So they've definitely sold him one. Somebody has, and I don't know if it's the real one or if it's a replica. You'd have to ask Mickey, actually. I mean, there is the question of ownership about these things. For instance, in The Fifth Element, there's an awful lot of Mondo Showans around, but they're not real because there is only one real one, and Nick Dudman's got that up at Pigs Might Fly, and it was mine because Gomort Films destroyed all of the others, apparently. So everything else you see is a recreation or might even been made with the same molds. I don't know. Or is a foyer model. That can happen a lot. But yeah, people say to me, "Oh, I've been offered this thing. What do you think of it?" And I'm like, "Man, that's me." I was lucky to come away with the script, which of course is the only thing I've got from Doctor Who is the script that Peter did my cartoon on. So that's it. That's the lot. I had this made myself by a lovely company in Watford, who I know do. They've got the biggest 3D printer in Europe. Hey, Go Styler. But they did that for me, thinking it would be useful at events and things. But probably I'm going to auction it in a charity auction in the next sort of few months. Because it hasn't played out in that way, so it might as well get sold and money to go to. Well, they did an event at the Royal Free for Maggie's. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it's a hospice environment caring for the families of children, actually, who are in the Royal Free with cancer. So hopefully we'll be able to get that into their next charity auction. So if anybody wants Friday, they should be looking out for that.
Yeah. Like, how long have you had that then?
Since the episode. Well, just after the episode, I was asked to do a bunch of quite big conventions, and I thought the same people made my pop-up banner, Stylographics in Watford, and as we were talking about it, they said, "Oh, we do standees," and that's just reboard, so that's like recycled cardboard, corrugated cardboard kind of thing. And they said, "Do you fancy one of those?" I said, "Well, yeah, please, that'd be great." But it didn't prove the thing people wanted at conventions. What they wanted was a picture of me and them in front of the banner with all the things on, most recent that I've done. So, weirdly, poor old Friday there, and he comes out at Halloween in our top window.
Huh. I guess when people watch it, don't they? They just see what they see, don't they?
Well, it's interesting though because look at the market for Daleks, for instance. All the Daleks always do brilliantly well at the conventions, and people have made their own Daleks, and other people will make you a Dalek, and they do fabulously well. Now, what's really interesting that I had not expected was one of the best things about conventions is the cosplay. Is where people have made their own and brought their own and will wear their own. And like at Galley, some people will have a different cosplay for morning and afternoon for the entire run. So they'll come with 8 costumes or whatever. And in that respect, things have a huge value, but it's because they've made them, or they've sourced them, or they've put them together, or they've adapted them. I love it. It's when it's like that, I am just the entertainer at somebody else's birthday party.
Yeah.
I've come to add a little bit of whatever, but actually they're the show. The cosplayers are the show, and they're fabulous.
Yeah, I have loads of cosplays actually from
Yeah.
Doctor Who. I have
What's your favourite?
my favourite is the Toy Maker
Oh,
from the 60th anniversary. Um, so the tailor that made Paul McGann's outfit for the Power of the
oh yeah.
Doctor, um, he's made me some. So he made me the Toy Maker one. He also done I want the Eighth Doctor one as well. So done that one.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
that's cool.
and most recently he done a 15th Doctor one, the one he wore from Rogue. Um,
Okay.
because I quite like the like Regency style episodes. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
brilliant.
brilliant. But I do have
No, it
others.
is. It's great. I mean, it's funny for me because it's kind of what I do for a living, and because of the size of me, it's quite difficult to get costumes for me, and because people tend not to let you take things away from shows anymore. But I don't have anything like that really. So yeah. So I leave it up to other people that do it much better than me, and it's always lovely to see.
Yeah, it's
There's some great cosplayers at Exeter. I guess it's last month now. Just brilliant, brilliant.
yeah. You go to these like you say, go to these conventions and you see these people and all these different ones. Like it's like a Doctor Who world, isn't it? Sometimes
Oh, completely.
when you go
Oh,
there.
and that's it. And it's a world people have made. I was at Cleethorpes some years ago, and very much that event, which was beautifully done. Really nice volunteer organisers. It's a cute little space anyway. I used to play Cleethorpes in the theatre back in the days when the Winter Garden was there. Nice venue. But the event was really local people doing cosplay, or at least people from the east, that part of the east of England. And they were the event. The con built all the way up to the cosplay parade. We were all just the build up. We were, I mean, gosh, loads of people there. Sylvester was there, Colin was there, David Jason was there, Michael Jason was there, bless him. But we were just the build up to the local people doing cosplay, and they were fantastic. So go on, we're up to an hour now.
Yeah, let's have
Give
lot.
give us a question.
So
One last
I've
question.
I've got one last question.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if there's any secrets, but there's nothing to say because you've already said about Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
But I will say one last question. Um, did you get to go in the TARDIS when you was there?
No. No, I didn't. Because my character didn't go in the TARDIS.
Okay.
I know that might sound a bit goofy. But also at the same time, we had the old Doctor Who exhibition across the road. So I did get to go around that with Rhiannon, who was largely in charge of my costume. So we did the Doctor Who exhibition together. And I kind of left the TARDIS alone because it felt improper. Because my character didn't get to go in the TARDIS, so I didn't go. No.
Did you see it though on the set?
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew where it was. And I'm not joking. I went to the door of the studio and I looked in and went, that's the Holy of Holies. I'm not going in there. Wrong. I mean, it's not that I believe that I'll get a chance to go in there as a character, because I probably won't. But I just thought, well, then that's the Holy of Holies. I'll leave that. I'll leave that to those people who are qualified to go in there.
Okay. Okay. Lastly, if you ever got offered to go in Doctor Who again,
yeah,
would you want to play a monster, or would you want to play a more, I guess, more role, maybe like a companion or someone that can actually go in the TARDIS?
Love to play a companion if there was a world in which they wanted somebody like me. That would be amazing. Of course.
The
Uh,
Doctor?
do you know, I've never seen myself as a doctor. No.
Mhm.
It's funny, we were Freddie Kingston and I were joking, and he was asked in one of the interviews he did for the EPK, how do you feel about it? And he said, "Oh, well, I'm pissed off because now I'm playing this character, I can't play the Doctor," which at the time would possibly have been true. Although I did remind him that Peter had played a completely different character in the Pompeii episode, and then came back as the Doctor, which he brightened. But I don't, I don't think I'm the Doctor.
You'd rather be a companion, just so you get to experience the TARDIS.
Yeah, yeah, that big bloke who wanders around and keeps falling over and gets it all wrong, and ends up being quite good in the end, and the Doctor drags him around for a while. Yeah, I'll be him, please.
That's brilliant. Well, thanks, Richard.
Not at all.
It's been really good speaking to you about like your experience. Because even though it was a little while ago, it
Mm.
still has an impact on you. Like,
Oh, it's like it was yesterday, and I
yeah,
hope it always feels like that. It's tremendously exciting. I love talking about the show, and I love talking about the show to people that know so much about the show and are so invested like yourself,
yeah.
because you prove exactly what I've just been talking about.
You can see
How
the
wonderful.
TARDIS in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Well, thank you, Richard. I think people are going to really enjoy this episode because it's funny because every year since this podcast it has existed since 2020,
Mm.
right? And the COVID pandemic. But every year since then, we've at least got a Doctor Who actor on, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
I'm
Um,
always happy to talk about telly, and as you know, I've done a whole bunch of other genre stuff.
yeah,
So if you ever want to chat
yeah.
about anything else, let me know.
Definitely, definitely. It's really good, like to hear about all the other stuff that you're doing as well. But yeah, to anyone listening, to anyone watching, we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you have a nice Christmas.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll see you next time. But yeah, thank you again, Richard.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.